Have you pressed the button? I didn't have to press a button like I normally do. Oh, sorry, everybody. You've come in the middle of us cracking jokes with one another. Hi, welcome to episode 24 of The Divine Mess. Oh, my Lord. Can't believe we've gotten this far. If it's the first time that the universe has chosen to put our podcast in front of your face, I'll take time to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Tina Marie, and I'm a love coach, and I love to help women through times of transition when big things happen in their life: separation, divorce, raising teenage kids, because that's me at the moment, having babies, losing loved ones. They cause us to take stock in our life and go, am I really truly on the right path? And do I love who I am at the moment? Or is there something greater that I'm meant to be doing? And every week I am blessed to sit opposite, as my partner calls him, my work husband, my gorgeous Mauritian friend who has the most delightful French accent that you will all get to witness, but I will allow him to introduce himself and a little bit about his business. So over to you, my friend.
Well, thank you, Tina, for the welcome, and it's our 24th already.
So exciting.
So we're 6 episodes away from our 30th. Yeah. And then 6 more weeks technically, but we know we'll get there. Mm-hmm. So welcome everyone, and thank you for tuning in every single week. Our listeners who are like regulars now, and they tune in, and thank you for commenting, for giving your feedback, and please continue to do so. So just like Tina said, I'm Kirti Devapirman. I'm the CEO and founder of the Heroes Mystic. It's a holistic life coaching company where we help people to find your inner hero and help you on your hero's journey to face your inner demons as well, and balance the divine and feminine energies. And that's how the podcast as well was started, when we start talking about the divine masculine and divine feminine, our different perspective. And it's the divine mess is simply a fun conversation that we keep having, and where we share our personal experience, how we dealt with that, and hopefully you're getting nuggets out of it that you can use for you. And we do take our different perspective. We use our different perspective on different techniques from our spiritual mentors or online mentors that we have learned over the years. So thank you for tuning in every single week and listening to the divine mess, and helping you to navigate through this beautiful divine mess, like we nickname it, which is life.
It is life, isn't it?
And we do find joy every single week showing up, for each other and helping each other to grow, and reminding. I feel that every time we meet, there's always a golden nugget to take out of it, and a reminder, just like last week episode where we spoke about self-sabotage. So we are curious to know, like, what did you discover? What are the things you discovered? And what did you find out, and how do you deal with it? And I feel it relates to today's topic, which is self-care. So now it's like we've gone through the shit. We have dug in the shit.
We have dug in, and how do we nourish ourselves? How do we endeavor to be the best version of ourselves, and taking time out for self? It's not an if and then, like if I do this, then I get this. It has to be, for me, a habitual process, because as a mother and a partner, I can at times get lost in caring for the people that I love, and even my furry children. They sometimes get put ahead of my own requirements. So for me, self-care has been a lifelong practice and still continues to be a lifelong practice. And self-care isn't for everybody bubble baths and glasses of wine, for some of us it's being creative, and for me I like to sometimes sit down with a notepad and a whole bunch of textures, and I like to draw, or just to free write, or going for a walk in nature, taking my shoes off and getting grounded. Another friend of mine likes to hug trees. That's her version of self-care, just to go and connect back with the planet. But over the last month or so, I've recognized that my self-care practices when it comes to my diet and my exercise routine have not been at a stellar level, that they need a little bit of help. And as I was saying in the last episode, I've employed a coach to help me with my diet and my exercise routine, because for my personality, I like the safety of the accountability. I like someone to deliver praise where it's due, and also for me to be able to garner the knowledge, because it's all very well that people say, oh, you can get training plans on the internet and you can get diet plans on the internet and all that. But I want to understand why I'm doing something. There's no purpose in me just going, oh, well, I need to eat more green veggies and I need to stay away from dairy and I need to not eat gluten. I want to know why. As we age, our body responds differently to certain things. I used to be able to eat white bread sandwiches like they were going out of fashion when I was younger, but now leaves me with a hangover. So that's not good self-care. But also self-care comes down to, for me, expressing what I need. And if I'm holding that back, I'm not being true to my relationship with my partner. I'm not being true to the relationship with my children by not sort of stating, we need to set some rules in our household. We need to establish some boundaries as to who's doing what and who's responsible for what. And if I take all of that load on myself, the feeding and the walking and the taking care of the dogs and making sure that the kitchen's always clean and cooking all the meals and doing all the laundry, that's not self-care. That's just creating a rut for myself and creating lazy children. That for me is not, my form of self-care is saying this behavior that you're currently exhibiting is not what I want. And it's not good for me, because I get frustrated and then I get really angry and then I get really pissed off and then I lose it. And I don't want that for my kids. I want them to see a healthy and relatively well-balanced human who apparently is in control. Don't know how that works, but I want them to also realize that that's how I need to take care of myself, and also to give them space to honor how did they best take care of themselves, to give them a platform in which they can go, I don't like to cook, but I love to clean, or, I don't like to do this chore, but I really like to do this one. This one makes me feel good, or I want to spend time in the garden. I don't mind, so long as everybody's taking some sort of role and responsibility so that the load is shared. That's my way of self-care. I don't know about you, Mr. D.
Well, for me, I like what you said about you need to express what you need. I find that it's not something I thought about before, and that's really important. I feel that you say what you need and what you feel as well, and what you think as well, and that form part expressing yourself. And for me, in terms of self-care, it's not a concept I knew at all. It's just like self-sabotage, the one we spoke about last week. It's something I learned when I came here, and when I came to New Zealand, is like, oh, I'm allowed to take care of myself. I'm allowed to have some time to me and to say no to stuff that I don't want to go or I don't want to do. Saying no is a major one for me in terms of self-care.
Mhm.
Saying no to things that I don't want to do, that I don't think it's right. Um, Saying no as well to things that's no longer serving me. And that can include food, and that can include like places to go. And I choose to say no because I'm choosing me. And I think it resonates back to one of my first mentor in psychology who told me the more you say no to others, the more you're saying yes to you. And I think that's one of the important aspect of my self-care is like saying no. And obviously physical activities like going for a walk, just like your friend hug trees. That's something I did when I came here. I find it funny still doing it, but I like it. It's like connecting with the trees, and it's like you're listening to the trees. It's like they're whispering.
Mm.
I don't know if you know that scene. There's like in Lord of the Rings. It's nerd time alert. In Lord of the Rings, when there's in one of the forests, like you could hear those old like grandpas in terms of trees, like they're whispering, but they're actually, well, they are alive. They come out alive in the movie.
Yeah.
So it for me it feels like that. Sometimes I wish, like I think secretly wish that they come alive and just walk, just like in the movies.
Yeah.
But it's
But
but
also the
it's
knowledge that they get to share, right?
yeah,
Because they've been
because
on the earth for such a long period of time, and have seen such change. You just
yeah.
you wish that they could share that knowledge.
Mhm.
And I know that sounds a little strange, but
But being strange is why you listen to this podcast as well, right? Being
we're all
strange, being weird,
strange in our own way, right?
and it's being who you are. I feel is part of the self-care as well, like you said, expressing yourself in terms of your voice, saying what you need, communicating with people, and even if it's hurting them, but you're saying your truth and standing in your truth and in your light. So like I was saying, like the physical was a big thing for me, like in
Yeah.
terms of going to the gym, or just going for walks, or just going for run, or biking, and swimming is a major one. It's part of the self-care. And journaling as well, I feel is good for me, like writing down the thoughts, especially for the past 2 weeks in terms of between the solar eclipse and lunar eclipse as well. And I know some people don't believe that. I respect that, but I could feel that energy shifting. It's like you're in a, like in the washing machine, and it feels like that at times.
Mm.
But I feel that's where your self-care is so important. When you know what you like listening to good music that's raised my vibration,
Yeah.
even like going for making a coffee that you enjoy, making a drink that you enjoy, like and going to the beach or walking barefooted. For me, for example, in the past week I've been like walking barefooted in the gardens, like which are in the parks. That really, it's like taking me back to childhood where I always walk barefooted anyway. So I always enjoyed that connection with Mother Earth. And it's like it feels like every step that you're taking forward, like you're moving forward, it's like removing that weight off you, and that energy is getting recycled. And I
Mm.
feel in those times your self-care is important as well, in connecting in the right people. And we mentioned that in our last episode about finding the people who will energize you, not drain you. It's part of your self-care as well. And I know with family members, and I was reading about that in one of the books that I'm reading. There are too many at the same time. I forgot which one, but I know they say like saying no to family members can be the hardest, but it will be so beneficial for you in the long run. Like, like if you don't want to go to a family gathering that's not aligned with you, you're allowed to go for 1 hour and come back. You don't need
Yeah.
to stay for the whole thing. But it depends. And I feel that's part of self-care as well. If it's a really like major family um, gathering, like for us in my culture, like going for weddings, for example, if you miss one, it's like, oh my God. If you didn't go for one of the event, it's like, oh, what's happening? Is he okay? Is all right? Is his life okay? But it's like just for people to see you. And I feel it was just for people to see you there. They wouldn't mean that it wouldn't mean that they will come to you and speak to you, because
It
we
just
all
had to
ask
be
that.
seen, right?
Yeah, and it's all about that famous question, how are you today? And saying just fine is enough. And sometimes those guys gathering it's draining for you. Like for me, I remember some of them were so draining for me, and I didn't like going to some of them because there was no intention, like there was no purpose for me to go there.
Yeah.
And
It's kind of interesting though, what I have learned studying a bit of human design in the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, is that we need to basically extract our mind from the process of everything that we do and learn to tune into our bodies and the way in which they talk to us. Mine is gut driven. So my gut is the thing that drives me and says yes or no to things. And it's a really strong reaction to when I get asked to an event, or someone says, hey, let's catch up for dinner, or there's something there. And I have 3 spaces for it. It's a hell yes, or it's a hell no, or it goes in the parking lot, because I feel nothing towards it. Like I'm not either lit up and excited or completely turned off and going, no, don't want to do that. So I think if people give themselves permission to remove the brain who thinks that they know it all, but they actually don't, and start to learn to listen to what your body is telling you, you may get taken on a really interesting path, but it's a big piece in that self-care program where you're allowing yourself to say no to things that people expect you to say yes to. It's their level of expectation that is where the issues and the problems are going to come up. It's not yours. So, and I think if everybody honored exactly how they felt about doing things within their life, they may find their lives to be exceptionally different from the path that they are walking on now. So do some investigation. Check out, you need your birth date, where you were born, and what time you were born. And it will give you a listing of what your authority is. So it's how your intuition works in your body. So your authority, my authority is sacral. My 2 eldest sons are emotional intuition. So they've got to ride their waves of emotion to then come to a space where they feel, I can make a choice on that. So for me, I relate it to like riding on a Ferris wheel. So they don't make good decisions in the now where I do. And that used to frustrate me because I could never understand why they would make decisions different, why they couldn't give me an immediate answer on what they wanted for dinner or where they wanted to go for their birthdays or those sorts of things. But the more information that we can gather and learn about ourselves, the better our interactions are with other people, the better we are at saying no to things. And trust me, I have learned that no is a complete sentence. And no is, there's no explanation needed. It's just no. You don't have to justify your actions. You don't have to say, oh, to be honest, I really can't be bothered. You're exhausting. Or, unless you want to have one of those conversations with a friend or a family member, or you set time limits or parameters, or I have an hour. I don't have 5 hours to listen to your Netflix and chill special. I've got an hour. That's all I've got, because I have other things on. You may not. The other things that you have on might be self-care practices for yourself, like going and sitting down at the beach with a journal and a pen and a bottle of water and sitting there for 2 hours. But they don't need to know that. All they need to know is that this is the block of time that I can give to you. And these are the things that I'm happy to discuss, but these are the things that I'm not. I think the more that we are upfront with others and we nourish and take care of ourselves first, the better off everybody would be. But we all hide behind, you think this about me, or you think that about me, or classic case of someone looking at me and going, well, you're this and you're that. And it informs their decision throughout their whole entire life of who they think I am. But I'm nothing like that. But it's their glasses, it's their perception on what they see. But if we don't take the time to get to know somebody on a deeper level, their perception is always going to sit there, and then it impacts us because we think that their bad mood or whatever is going on for them is actually about us. It's not. So I think we need to look at self-care across the board in so many ways. It's not just what we physically do for our bodies or what we nutritionally do for our bodies, but it's about our emotional health and how we take care of that, how we express our emotions. Are we free to? Because for women, it comes from the heart and up and out our throat and out our mouth. But for guys, it's a downward doing action that they have to move through their emotions. I heard someone mention the other day, a man's version of tears is anger. Men do not express themselves very well, so their first expression is anger or rage because they're comfortable in that space, because that gives them some version of power or authority. Because the minute that or if they ever dared to cry, that means they're being girly or they're popping into their feminine. I don't think that to be true, and it's never something that I've ever raised my boys with. But for a lot of men that are my age, or around my age, that's how they've been raised. That's how they've been taught that they can't practice emotional self-care by expressing themselves properly, that they have to do it in a way that is socially acceptable. And I'm sure some of the guys that you've dealt with, Dava, would probably be in that same space, that, expressing their emotions as part of their self-care routine, or even being in a space with a woman and feeling comfortable enough to let their guard down and go, you know what, I don't have all the bloody answers. I don't know what to do with this, and this really upsets me. But so many men think they have to be on the white horse and fix everything and do everything to be the man. And it's like, well, we're just humans, irrespective of the suit that our souls are riding around in. We all should be free to be able to express ourselves fully, or feel comfortable or safe enough to express ourselves fully. But that's a learning thing, I think, if it's not delivered in a family where you're shown that you can do that. I don't know. For me, it's been a thing that I've endeavoured to raise my boys to say, it's okay to cry, and it's okay to admit that you're wrong, that you don't have all the answers. That's self-care too, you know.
And I feel like I like that what you said, like men steers or in the form of anger, right? And I like that because I feel that most men, that's how we express ourselves. Uh, I think the angriest we are is towards ourselves, and hence we don't know how to express it. It's not that we are, because I've been watching those videos where they're funny couples, right? They are making fun, of relationship. It's not that the man is angry at his partner. It's just about him not providing in a way, because we are wired in our DNA that said that we need to provide. And now that women are going out there and providing for themselves, it's like a disbalance. So that's where so man is like, so where do I fit in? So that's where the self-care, in terms of like, I don't know what should I do or how to express myself, so I don't know how to even say it. Because there was another video where there was one girl who was like, whom will you call if you're in a deep shit, like.
Yeah.
And there was a number of guys who replied to that video and just said, oh, can I call? Am I allowed to call? I didn't know that I have someone to call. And those were the responses. Like, they didn't know that they can call someone. They didn't know that they could take care of themselves, like to just say, I'm in deep shit, or say. And there was one guy who even said, nobody cares. No one gives a shit. And that's how he responded. Saying, no one cares to what I have to say. So why should I call someone? Yeah. And these were the responses from guys who were responding to that girl. And another one was like, the same girl, I think, she was telling her boyfriend that, like, you deserve love, you're worthy of love. And her boyfriend just started to cry. And the comments were all about the guy crying. They were saying like, oh, a guy cried, like, is he a guy or something? And this tells you about the mindset of the society. Like, as guy, we are not allowed to show our emotions at all. Like, we are not allowed. And if we do, it's like we are, like we are seen as girls, quote unquote. Like,
Yeah.
that's the tag that we'll get. So how can we take care of ourselves? And so that's why most people turn to the gym, to go to, like, to food, maybe, for comfort, to drinking alcohol. Another one I heard is like porn is picking up again.
Yeah.
Suicide as well.
It's emotional crutches, right? They're things that,
yeah.
Instead of dealing with whatever is going on, we want to mask it with something else. We want to mask it with booze or food or sex or drugs, or, like working out until we exhaust ourselves, because then we don't have the capacity to, deal with all the stuff that's going on. But if we keep burying things, they're gonna come out, right? It's a pressure cooker waiting to explode, particularly for men. I watched it happen with my ex-husband, that he just kept all the emotional stuff. It was fine when we were a couple. It wasn't fabulous. It was good at sometimes. But the minute we had children, there was this like additional pressure. And I was part of that because I wanted to stay home and raise our babies. But just this emotional pressure of childhood things that weren't dealt with, and it got to the point where it exploded at a family gathering, to the point where it stopped me from speaking to my sister, speaking to my nieces and nephews. My parents were going to jump on the bandwagon until it was quite adequately pointed out that I wasn't involved in any of it. I just happened to be the washout. I was unfortunately the person that copped the blast the biggest, because it was easier to dump it all on me. So I think for men particularly, we as women are quite good to sit in circle and to discuss feelings and problems, but we have to be willing to want to share. You know, some people don't feel comfortable in sharing, but I don't think there's enough spaces for men to be able to do the same. You know, there's some great organizations like Mr. Perfect, and there's quite a few other organizations that I know of where men can go and talk around a barbecue, or to hang out and to spend time and to talk about things that really weigh on them, the pressures that partners, children, jobs get placed on them, and they feel that they should be able to handle all of that sort of stuff themselves. So women are better to a degree in taking care of themselves, but we are also in need of someone going, do you need a hand up? Do you need a leg up? And it's always our strongest friends who seem to have their shiz together and are moving through time and space really, really well. They're the ones you need to check on, people, because they're the ones that keep adding more shiz to their pile because they think they should be able to handle it. But a burden shared is a burden halved, right? So if you take the time to share what's going on honestly in how you're coping with it, then you know what, two brains are better than one. Someone's going to come up with a logical solution as to how to fix it. Or if not, they're just allowing you to take up space because when it's in the monkey mind and it's going round and round and round and round and round in circles, you're never going to have a solution for it. But the minute that you're able to express the problem or the things that are weighing you down, 9 times out of 10, you can solve it yourself. You just needed to be able to voice it. So I think for me, self-care is being able to voice what's going on, what you're internalizing, is as important as your physical health. When people say they're tired, I'm really tired. It's not physical tiredness that people are suffering from. It's emotional and mental and spiritual tiredness, that they don't feel that those areas of their lives, they're taking care of themselves really well, but they don't know how. They've got no idea how to nourish and nurture and take care of themselves in those aspects. So because they don't know how, they numb it out, pretend like it doesn't exist, sit in front of the TV, scroll on their phones, do whatever they need to do to try and get rid of it. But it's like weeds in a garden. They'll just keep coming and coming and coming. And unless you pull things out by the root and you discover the root reason as to why you're feeling the way you do, unless you're prepared to sit with friends and share, go out to the pub, do whatever you need to do, or in an environment where you feel safe enough to share, it's always going to be there. And it's always going to be rocks that you've chucked in your backpack and you will continue to carry. So, dear men and ladies, reach out and say, I'm really struggling with X, or I'm really struggling with Y. Can someone please help me? Or has someone dealt with this? How did you deal with it? Because you're not an island unto yourself. That's the one thing we find, particularly in parenthood. Everybody's struggling with the same stuff. Just some people have smarter ways of dealing with it.
Yeah, and it's not like the kids came with a manual, like how to navigate with that. Because one parent asked me, like, can I get a manual, like how to navigate a book, like how can I navigate and go on each chapter, like, he's having a crisis or she's having a crisis. Oh, this is what I should say. Okay, yeah, good. I say, no one comes with that. but it's
No.
and that's where I tell the parents to refocus on them, and that's the weird question that they are like, what do you mean, like we came for the kids? It's like, no, but if you're not dealing with you, like if you're not helping yourself out, you're not asking for help, so how can you expect that your children will do that? And it comes again like to even in couples, right? You were saying like if you're not true to yourself here, how can you be true to your partner? You know, like if you don't ask them, and in the documentary, I think I mentioned in the last episode, it's like about the Olympians, or where they were talking about the mental health challenges, and everyone said it was the US Olympians, and they were talking about the mental health challenges for the, you know, for their journey from 4 years into the Olympics, like how much toll it take on their mental health. They feel so alone because they think they are Olympians, they're peak performance athlete, so they are not allowed to ask for help. And that's how they initially thought, because they are top performers, so they shouldn't ask for help because everyone assume that they are doing their very best, they are peaking, you know, like they are at the top of their sports.
Yeah.
But actually in the US they noticed that there's a rise in suicide of Olympians when they finish after the 4 years, you know, when they wait up. This documentary was filmed until the Beijing. Yeah, I think the Beijing Olympics, most of it. So it was 2008, and they were talking about it, and it was nearly after 10 years that they talk about it. And there was Michael Phelps, who was the most known one. And the others, they are like, they say people don't know about them unless you're into those sports. But they were telling about people that losing their best friend because they fail to ask, you know, how are you doing? How are you really doing? And one guy was saying like his best mate, who unfortunately committed suicide, was saying that a few weeks back before this happened, his best mate, they were in the US training camp, and they met at midnight. His mate just said, we need to talk. And he was like, yeah, what's up? And he said, how are you feeling like? And the guy said, well, I don't know. I'm supposed to be training for the Olympics, but I'm not motivated. What should I do? And then the guy was saying, like, when he reflected back now, he wish he could have said something different.
Yeah.
But it's telling you again, like, how guys, we struggle to voice out our emotion, our true feeling, because we were so trained, and the society as well show us a model. If you go on social media where every person was being successful and it's showing their successes, and you're like, yeah, you should be like this, you should be, it's all about the should.
Yeah.
And that's where it messed up with your brain, and that's where you, again, going back to the previous episode, where you self-sabotage because you say, oh, I'm not going to reach that level, so why bother? So you don't focus on the self-care.
Yeah.
So
but we're not robots, right? We're
No.
human beings with thoughts, feelings, and all of that stuff that needs to be nurtured and cared for. Because someone once taught me an expression after you mentioned the word assume, that when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. So it literally is, don't assume that you know that someone is going through something. And when you ask how someone is, do it because you genuinely want to know. And when they say, I'm fine, don't accept that as an answer, because I'm fine's bullshit. You know, it's just people putting glad wrap over a crappy situation. You have to ask more and going, no, really, I really want to know. That's why I'm asking the question. What's going on for you? Because it looks good, but is it really? Because everybody looked at my marriage and the home I lived in and all of those things. And they said, we thought you had the perfect marriage. We thought you had a great relationship. They didn't see me curled up and crying in front of my fridge or losing it at my ex-husband because he was never at home, because he had his own wounds that he didn't know how to deal with. And when you're in it, you can't see that. All you can see is the stuff that where your needs are not being met, but you don't realize that the other person's needs are not being met either. And without the personal development and the time and the effort and the intent I put into myself, I can now see that, but you can't see it when you're in the midst of it. And he was never one to reach out to someone and say, I'm really struggling with being a parent or being a husband or trying to run a business and all the stresses and the strains and the things that go with it. If you don't, this is where we end up with people not feeling worthy enough of the time and love and attention of other people. So then they isolate themselves, or they become really hard, or they become argumentative, or they just don't actively participate in being part of a family. And we interpret as women, because we want to fix and solve and love and nurture people, we take all of that information that's being downloaded on as our fault, as our problem, because we can't fix it. We're fixers. We like to tie things up in nice little bows, but we also have to understand that it's not our issue to solve. It's our issue to hold space and allow a person to go, well, I don't like this and I don't like that. There's no need for rebuttal. It's just listening and going, I'm really sorry you feel that way. How can we move forward? But you're not there to go, but you don't do this and you don't do this. And it's why I would think most men in most relationships would not come to their partner and go, I don't have the wherewithal to cope with all of this today. I can't cope with the kids, and I can't cope with my mum, and I can't cope with my job, and I hate everything, but I don't know what to do. But I'm meant to have all the answers. Well, actually, no, you're not. But us as ladies, hello, take them off their white horses. They're just men trying to do the best with the level of skill that they have. Show the same amount of empathy to the person that you love as you would your best girlfriend who's going through challenges with her kids or her partner or whatever. Hold the space the same as you would for her and go, it's okay, because I can hold this too. You don't have to shelter me from all of these other things. We can hold it. So giving them space allows them to care for themselves. So I just don't think it's a one-way street. Yes, we have to be mindful of caring for ourselves, but I think we also need to practice allowing space so our partners or our children can self-care too.
Yeah. And also, I feel that the man, it will take a certain degree of being vulnerable, being open to it, and being very comfortable with your partner to do that, to allow this to happen. And yeah, it takes time, I feel. And like you said, it's about both sides. I feel like both need to be open to it.
Yeah.
And to just sit down, because it's part of the self-care. Because as a couple, when you have kids, especially, even when you don't have kids, because you're taking care of each other, so you need to be open and to actually sit down and just have that talk, of what's going on, what's really going on, and share it.
And have set aside time once a week. It's a once a week check-in. I think Jordan Peterson spoke about it in terms of once a week, he and his wife go out. They don't talk about the kids. They talk about each other. Where are you at? What are you struggling with? How can I better help you be a better person? What can I do to help you? and having that back and forward conversation about what weight are you carrying at the moment. Maybe you don't need to, or what are you assuming about me or about my mood or about my behavior? But so many of us rush into these spaces where it's romantic and it's lovely and the sex is great and all the stuff, but we don't consider all the other things that come with being in a relationship, being able to help and support your partner, not, go through work challenges or go through family challenges or just unearthing their dark night of the soul. And for those people that aren't spiritual, they don't understand what they're going through, but us on the other side of the fence can see that's what it is, that, they're being asked to grow. And some people are very resistant to the growth. So sometimes we have to maneuver the conversation in a way that makes sense to them, to their logical brains, to their not so spiritual spaces.
And sometimes there's Jay Shetty's book on 8 Rules of Love, where it gives you like a timetable, like a plan, like you can follow it if you want. But I feel the main point is like you have one night for you personally, like, and that's part of your self-care when no one is involved except you.
Yep.
And you do an activity on your own, either 1 or 2 nights for you. And then you have that weekly check-in with your partner where you just talk about the 2 of you.
Yeah.
As a couple, as an individual, being open to it. And then you have if you want the rest of the weeks, the rest of the week is about like being social, connecting with mutual friends, and maybe once a night or free times. It depends on you. If you have kids, obviously you will spend most with them, but it's really important. I feel part of your self-care is like taking that time for you. Yeah. And I feel for me, it's like the main one is taking that time for you. Even if it's 2 hours, it's 1 hour, it's 30 minutes, irrespective of what it is, you just need to focus on you first, because the relationship with yourself determines the relationship around you.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to be mindful. And I like your idea of being open, both of them being open to the process.
Yeah. Yeah. But, they're conversations that are required if you're both going to grow with each other. If you're going to, you choose a person, you're choosing this person to move through life with, then you can't just accept one facet of them. Oh my God, they're really good looking. Oh my God, they've got a really great job. No. People are like an Italian wedding cake. There's multiple layers of who they are. And it's our role as a partner to unearth those bits, whether we like them or not. When we sign on, whether we're married or not, it's for better or worse, that we love and accept them for who they are at any given stage. But at the same time, we need to give that to ourselves. We need to, for better or worse, love ourselves unconditionally. It's very hard sometimes, and it just feels a little bit like running fingernails down a chalkboard to look at yourself in the mirror and go, you're looking mighty good today, or we're working on it. It's not there yet, but we're working on it. And just giving yourself time and space and a little bit of grace. Just a little bit. Because the more we give to ourselves like that, the more capacity we have to give to the people around us. And if we're practicing really good self-care, have a guess what? People around you start to do it too. We have to behave as the mirror for good practices in all things, even, whether it be for our children or our partners. My partner's an absolute physical nut. if it's anything sporting, golf, running, biking, swimming, even if he's not good at it, he researches and he watches YouTube videos and he learns as much as he can to better understand how his body mechanics work so that he can be better at what he does. And so when I look at that, I go, oh my God, that's just so admirable a trait. And I go, I think I could do that. I could step in and start to, I'm never going to run at the pace that he runs at, and I'm never going to cycle 180 kilometers for shits and giggles. It's just, it doesn't light my fire like it does his. But I can take elements of the things that I admire about him and put it into practice for myself in a way to love myself better. Because these people around us are acting like mirrors and going, how could I do that better? How could I take care of myself better? How could I be more consistent? How can I do that? How can I nourish myself in a better way? I think self-care comes in so many forms for so many people. It could be stand-up comedy, it could be singing in the shower, it could be joining a local community group and cleaning up the environment. There's so many things that nourish people from the inside out, and it's your job to go and find what it is that nourishes you. Try so many things. Another girlfriend of mine loves to scratch and sniff lemons, because it just excites her no end, the smell of citrus. That's her thing. For someone else, it could be smelling a rose, but it's our role while we are here to find the things that nourish our soul, and it then leads us to people who feel the same way about those things, to give us a better life. Because it's supposed to be joyous and it's supposed to be happy, but it's a choice, ladies and gents.
Yeah. And I think on that note, we come to our conclusion for this episode, because I feel that we discuss about self-care in different ways using the human design, and especially focus on the relationship. And that's what I love about this episode. Like, you never know where it's going. And I feel the question you said at the end, like, look for what works for you. If I can rephrase it, it's like, ask yourself what nourishes, like you said, your soul. And for me, it's like, ask yourself what make you happy. It could be like like your friend, like scratching lemons. And I don't know if there's any other fruit or any other joy of your life that you would like to try, and just ask yourself those questions. And we are looking forward to the comments and to tell us like what makes you feel happy and what's part of your self-care routine. If you have one, or if you don't, what are you aiming for? So for the rest of the week, maybe reflect on that. Just reflect on how are you going to take care of yourself better, like you said, Tim, like in different ways. How can make your life better. And your life is pure joy. It's not supposed to, it is. It is. So on that note, from my part, I wish you a good week, and thank you for joining us. And I will leave Tina to do the rest now, right?
As always, we love you and we appreciate you, if no one else tells you that today. And we look forward to hearing from you and enjoying the pleasure of your company and your time next week. So until then, have a fabulous day and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Ciao.